Children, good morning. Here is the third part of our chapter, lesson number 6, the three orders. So let us start. England, the land angels. The Angles and the Saxons, they came from Central Europe and got settled in England during the 6th century. The name of the country England is a modification of Angle land, as England was inhabited by the Angles or the angels, right? You can call it as angel land also and angels also, and that is why England. Factors affecting the social and economic relations. Dear children, there were several processes which were affecting the social and economic relations. In it, environment being the first one. From the 5th to the 10th centuries, most of Europe was covered with vast forests. Between 5th and the 10th centuries, Europe had undergone an extreme cold climatic change. This shortened the growing season for crops and reduced the agricultural production. By the 11th century, Europe entered a warm phase. We can also call it like this. From the 5th to the 10th centuries, most of Europe was covered with vast forests. Thus, the land available for agriculture was limited. Peasants were dissatisfied with the conditions. They could flee from oppression and take refuge in the forest. Europe was undergoing an intensely cold climatic spell in this period. This led to severe winters and prolonged winters also. A shortened growing season for crops was felt, and this reduced the yields from agriculture. From the 11th century, children, Europe entered a warm phase. Increase in temperature had a deep impact on agriculture. Average temperatures increased, which had a profound effect on agriculture. Peasants had a longer growing season and soil could be easily plowed now. Peasants now had a longer growing season and the soil, now less subjected to frost as it was, could be more easily plowed. This resulted in the expansion of agriculture. Land use. Agricultural technology, which was used by peasants, initially, children, this time it was primitive. It was primitive by nature. They had to use wooden plow. It was drawn by a couple of oxen, which could only scratch the surface of earth instead of drawing full fertility of soil. So fields needed to be dug by hand, regularly once in 4 years. Therefore, we can say that agriculture was very much labor demanding. An unproductive method of crop rotation was in use at that time, in which the land was divided in between two halves or in two halves. In one part, wheat was grown in autumn, and in the other part, that is the other left, fallow, and vice versa. That is one part, what was grown, wheat was grown, and it was the season was autumn season, and other was left fallow. That is, it was left empty, and vice versa. That is, the next year, the fallow part in it, what was grown in winter season, wheat was grown, not winter, but in autumn season, wheat was grown in one winter time, and that was it. Rye was grown in the other half. This was a system of destroying fertility of soil and it caused frequent famines, children. Because of this, what was happening? Frequent famines were coming, as this was something that was destroying the fertility fertility of soil, incompleteness in totality. That is why famines were the result. The lords were apprehensive. The lords were apprehensive to increase their income, as it was difficult to increase output from land. So they forced the peasants to work on his manorial estates more than the legal time, more than the prescribed time. This was what was happening. Now is coming the next head, that is technological changes in the field of agriculture. The 11th century saw several changes in the field of agriculture, dear children. What changes there were? Firstly, the heavy tipped iron plough was seen. The heavy iron tipped ploughs were used now. Mold boards replaced old wooden equipments now. These ploughs, children, they dug much deeper, and mold boards turned soil suitable, which resulted in better use of nutrients from the soil. This was the advantage. The shoulder harness, it replaced the neck harness of animals that allowed animals to wield greater power now. That is, they were comfortable working now. Use of iron horseshoes prevented the foot decay of horses. Again, advantage. Thirdly, there was increased use which was seen in the field of wind energy and water energy. Both were used now for agriculture purpose. All over Europe, wind and water powered mills were established for the purpose of grinding corn and pressing grapes. Again, advantage. The next one now. With the improvement in agricultural technology, there was one thing that was seen, and that was instant enhancement in food produced from every unit of land. Every unit of land was producing food. Then this was again for the betterment. Next is the greater use of plants like peas and beans. Because of them, increased protein diet of Europeans was seen and felt. Better source of fodder for animals was available now. Now cultivator could produce more food from small land. Average holding of peasants' farm shrank from 100 acres to 20 acres or 30 acres. Earlier it was 100 acres. Now it was 20 or 30 acres. Now small holdings. They reduced the requirement of labor because of small holdings, small 20 or 30 acres of land with them. It reduced the requirement of labor and could be efficiently cultivated, which gave time to peasants for other activities which were creative for them. So this was again for the advantage of whom? For the peasant. Then after this is the next one. During the 11th century, what was happening? What was seen? The personal bonds based of that were the basis of feudalism. They weakened. 11th century it was. Feudalism and its bonds, the personal bonds, they weakened. The lords asked for rents in cash instead of kind now. And also peasants, they found it easy to sell their crops to traders now. The increased use of money began to influence the prices, which became higher in times of poor harvest. Money and its use increased. A fourth order, new towns and townspeople. The advent of new agricultural technology, children, it resulted in growth of agriculture. It was accompanied by progress in three related areas like population increase, trade and towns. There also one thing was seen, and that was increase. Population of Europe, it rose from 42 million in 1000 to 62 million around 1200, and 73 million it was in 1300. Due to better food, the lifespan increased. An average European could expect to live 10 years longer in the 13th century than the 8th century. Now, 10 years longer, the lifespan increased. From when to when? From the 8th to the 13th century now. Then the growth of population. It resulted into certain things. Firstly, development of towns in the Roman Empire was seen. Peasants needed a place to sell their surplus produce and buy tools and cloth also. This led to the increase in holding regular fairs and small townships got developed. These townships they gradually developed into town with features like town square in the towns. What was their features? Certain features were there which were common, like town square, a church, streets where merchants built shops and homes for themselves. An office was there where administrators of city could meet. The towns developed along large castles, bishop estates or large churches also the towns developed along. This was something where the growth was seen. Development of towns, surplus produce, regular fairs, small townships, development of town areas, common features. Then large castles were there in towns, bishops' estates were there, or churches were also there. Via them, what developed? The town areas developed. Town air makes free was a saying popular in medieval Europe. Many serfs escaped from their masters. They escaped. They ran away from the masters and they hid themselves in towns. If they successfully completed 1 year and a day without being discovered by the masters, they could become free men. This was a condition that was kept. For a serf to become free, what was needed? If you complete 1 year and a day without being discovered by me, who's a master, then you could become free man. This was the condition which was there for the serfs. That is why it was said town air makes free. Where what happened, many serfs escaped from the masters and hid themselves in town areas. Guilds were the basis of economic organization in the medieval Europe. Crafter industry was organized into guild children. These guilds were there who were controlling the quality, prices, and the sale of the goods also. The guild hall was part of every town. It was a common feature where this was seen. That is, in every town, a guild hall was supposed to be there, where heads of all guilds met. Due to the expansion of trade, due to the expansion of commerce, also the town merchants became wealthy and powerful also they became. And they competed with the power of the nobility. This is what happened with the guilds, as they were now the basis of economic organization in the medieval Europe. There was a larger number of shopkeepers and merchants which were seen. Later, there was a need of skilled individuals like lawyers and bankers. Shopkeepers were there, merchants were there. They were in large amount there. Now, skilled individuals were also needed to take care of the shopkeepers and merchants, to keep a track of them, to keep society in law and order, to manage and maintain the accounts and the things that were related to shopkeepers and merchants who were needed. Lawyers were needed now, and bankers was also a community that was needed to help shopkeepers and merchants. The bigger towns had population of around 30,000, which might form the fourth order. This was it. Bigger towns with a population of around 30,000 people. The next one, which tells us something about the crisis of the 14th century that arose at that time. In this, by the early 14th century, children, Europe's economic expansion slowed down. Europe was now economic expansion, it was becoming less there by the early 14th century. Reason, many reasons were there. 13th century, the warm summers of the previous years had given way to bitterly cold summers. We read it earlier that what was there, climate got replaced. Colder climate got replaced by warmer summers. But now again the same thing happened, that is in the 13th century. The warm summers which were seen in the previous years, they were now replaced by bitterly cold summers, due to which Seasons for growing crops, they were reduced by a month. Storms were there, oceanic flooding was there. This destroyed many farmlands that reduced the income and taxes for governments. People were not able to pay to the government now taxes. Why? Because they were facing calamities, natural calamities like storms and oceanic flooding. Population growth was there. Because of it, what was seen, shortage of resources was felt. Immediate result of all these things was famine. Trade was hit by a severe shortage of metal money because of the shortfall in the output of silver mines in Austria and Serbia. Earlier, Austria and Serbia were producing lots and lots of silver from the mines. But now, because of the shortfall, because of the less silver that Austria and Serbia were producing, trade was hit hard. Why? Because shortage of metal money was felt. The ships that were coming with rats, the ships that were coming for trade, they were coming with rats carrying the deadly bubonic plague infection that caused Black Death. This was again an epidemic that was spreading there. This catastrophe, combined with the economic crisis, it caused immense social disorder there, right? Serious imbalances were created between agriculture and manufacture. Imbalances were there. The things which were proper in shape before, now they were not anymore, no more in proper shape and form. Agriculture and manufacture were severely hit hard. Cathedral towns. Now, if we talk about them, cathedral towns, large churches, they were called as cathedrals. By 12th century onwards, cathedrals were being built in France. The cathedrals, they belonged to the monasteries. Different people contributed to the construction with their own labor, material, or money. So, not only one community, but different people were there who were contributing by providing some labor of theirs, some material, by giving some material, or by giving some amount of money. A cathedral was made of stone and took several years to complete. The area around the cathedrals became more populated and they became centers of pilgrimage also. Small towns developed around these cathedrals. Cathedrals were designed in a way that voice of the priest could reach all people assembled in the hall. So we are discussing right now, children, about large churches which were called as cathedrals. Singing sound of monks and the chiming bells, they reached greater distance as a call for prayer. Stained glass was used for windows of the cathedrals. These glasses, the stained glasses we are talking about, during daytime, they made the cathedrals radiant, bright for the people who were inside. And during the nights, the light of the candles, they made them visible for the people outside the cathedral. So these glasses, they were really helpful and beautiful also. The stained glass narrated the stories in the Bible through the pictures that were painted on it, so that illiterates could understand those stories. It was really helpful for those people who could not read and write. So only by looking at the pictures, they could easily visualize that these were the scenes from Bible because they had heard it. They had heard the narration of their holy text, which was the Bible. Social unrest now. The income of the lords was declining rapidly because of fall prices of agricultural products and rise in wages of laborers. Income of the lords that was coming at a lower pace. Why? Because agricultural products, they were witnessing falling prices, and laborers, their wages were not less. Their wages, there was a rise in the wages of the laborers. That is why what was their income of the lords, it was not, there was no balance between all three things: income of the lord, falling prices of agricultural products, and rise in wages of laborers. Who was suffering? It was, of course, the income of the lords that was suffering. In desperation, they tried to give up the money of contracts and revive labor services. Now, what they wanted for themselves, they said no to the money contracts now. We want to take back, we want to do away with the money contracts that we had signed with you people. And we want to start again our labor services. Who was this person who was saying this? It was the lords who were saying this. This was fiercely opposed by all the peasants, including better educated and more prosperous ones. Peasants opposed this. That is the Lord saying no to money contract and yes to labor services. Peasants oppose this. In these peasants, better educated people were there and more prosperous ones were also included in them. The peasants revolted. Place was Flanders. Year was 1323. And in France, year was 1358. And in England, year was 1381. So these three places the peasants revolted: Flanders, France, and England. Although the revolts were ruthlessly crushed, badly crushed, severely crushed, but one significant thing was that they occurred with more brutal intensity in the areas which experienced economic growth. They were crushed, but one thing happened with it, that is, with more intensity, where economic growth was more, they occurred again. It was a sign of peasants' attempt for securing their gains which they had made in previous centuries. Previous centuries, they were witnessing some growth. Now, peasants' attempt for securing their gains, they wanted them back with them. So they did all this, that is, they revolted again. The aggression of the peasants made it certain that old feudal order would not be reinstalled. Because of the aggression of peasants, because of the anger of peasants, because of the revolt of peasants, feudal order, it was very much clear that the old feudal order could not be reinstalled again. Feudalism could not come again back in shape. Who told this? It was the anger of the peasants which told the rest of the community this thing. That is the Lord's this thing, that now the old feudal order could not be brought back. Thus the lords were able to crush the rebellions but were not able to reinstitute old feudal privileges. Lords crushed the rebellions, but their old feudal privileges which were there with them, the old feudal order that they wanted for themselves, that they were not able to bring back in shape or to reinstitute that old feudal privileges. It was not in their hands now. Yes, they tried, but they were not successful in that. Because of whom? Because of the aggression, because of the anger of peasants, because of the revolts of peasants, because of the revolt of peasants which started from Flanders, France, and England, and after that, many other places also. Lords were not able to reinstitute the old feudal privileges. Political changes now between the 15th and the 16th centuries. Development in the political sphere was parallel to the social processes. In this, what we will be studying is, we will be studying closely, we will be analyzing closely the changes that occurred in European polity during this period of 15th and the 16th century. Development in the political sphere was parallel to the social processes. 15th and 16th century, emergence of triumphant rulers in Europe was seen. It was stimulated, or it was seen by the social changes of the 13th and 14th centuries as the feudal system weakened there. Both the powerful new states and the economic changes that were occurring were significant for Europe. Powerful new states, growth of them, and the economic changes that were related, they were significant for the rest of the Europe. They were remarkable for Europe. The historians call these kings as the new monarchs. The kings like Louis XI in France, Maximilian in Austria, Henry VII in England, and Isabella and Ferdinand in Spain. They were absolute monarchs' children. They were absolute monarchs. They were the new monarchs. They were absolute monarchs also. They started the process of organizing standing armies. A permanent bureaucracy was there in the empire and national taxation. And in Spain and France, they began to play a role in European expansion overseas. That is what these new monarchs started. The monarchs, they dispensed or they did away with the system of feudal levies for their armies. And in place of this, they initiated professionally trained infantry, which was equipped with gun and siege artillery directly under their control. These were the new monarchs and the new system. The resistance of the nobility collapsed in the face of the military efficiency of the kings. The centralized power did not establish easily confrontation of aristocracy. The nobility managed a tactical transfer from being opponents to the new regime into loyalists because they wanted to stay there, because they wanted to stay with their power which they had with them. So they managed it this way, that is, from being opponents, they transferred it tactically with wisdom into becoming loyalist. Loyalist of whom? Loyalist of the monarchs, the new monarchy, loyalist of the new regime. The king was at the center of an elaborate courtier society, and a network of patron-client relationships was seen. He was at the apex of, the king was at the center of an elaborate courtier society, apex of it, top of it. All rulers, powerful or weak, they required the assistance of those who could control power, which could be arranged or acquired by way of money. Anybody who was a ruler, whether he was a powerful one or a weak ruler. But yes to this thing was there, that is, somebody's assistance was needed in ruling or in governing or in administering. So they were helped, or these people were there to help them. How they help them was by taking money, by way of money. They provide them with help, they provide them with assistance. The merchants and bankers, they acquired an important role because they could solve problem of money for the kings by lending it to them. So now who became important? It were the merchants and bankers. They became important because now they were the ones who were ready to solve king's problem by helping him with money and lending the money to this particular person, that is the king. Therefore, they got easy access to royal court. Now they were important part of the royal court. Kings thus made way for non-feudal constituents in the state scheme. Now, the merchants and bankers, they were welcomed in the royal court. Why? Because they were helping the king. Kings thus made way for non-feudal constituents. These were not feudal. These were non-feudal parts of the state scheme, but they were also welcome now. Why? Because the king needed their help and their support in ruling, administering the empire. This was the non-feudal constituent scheme. That was involvement of merchants and bankers. The later history of France and England was to be shaped by these changes in the power structure. All these were the changes that were seen in the power structure of France and England, and the later history was shaped by it. Here is the image, children, of the three orders in which the clergy, Christian priests are being shown. The nobility, landowning nobles at the second place. And at the third place, the peasantry or the farmers are there. Now, children, what was happening during the reign of child King Louis XIII of France? A meeting of the French Consultative Assembly, Estates General, which was known as Estates General, it was called, and this was held in 1614. In this Estates General, children, three houses or the three orders were present. First being the clergy, second being the nobility, and in the third, the rest of the population that included the peasants and the farmers also. Estates General was not summoned for 2 centuries till 1789. Why? Because the monarchs were not ready to share powers with the three orders. So this is the history of the three orders, children. And with this, I end my this chapter. Thank you, dear children.